Yo, what is going on, guys? We're back with another Elevate interview. I'm here with my man, Justin Schaapveld. Justin has been a great friend of mine and a local member as well in Minnesota as well. He has been in the Elevate community for quite a few months now. He has been a very dedicated member and had so much growth, and I've just had the pleasure of connecting with this guy multiple times, not only over the phone, but in person. And I'm just pumped to have him here and to be able to dive into his story a little bit and just his experience in Elevate. But, Justin, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going great, dude. Going great. We got a sunny afternoon out here. It's not raining for once. You know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
with Minnesota. It's just been crazy amounts of rain lately.
Yeah, it sure has. Yeah, it's a beautiful morning. I'm just getting rid of the humidity, man. It's been brutal. I can't imagine with all that hair, like the humidity must be just killing you.
Absolutely. It makes me want to question if I should go back to short hair sometimes with
Right?
it.
At least you
But
have
dude, it's
hair.
great to
Mine's
have
just
you.
falling out. Like I've gotten to that age now where it's just coming out here and like growing out of my nose and my ears now. So you're lucky. Take advantage while
For
you can.
sure. I'll definitely take advantage while I can, man, for sure. But dude, just kind of want to jump right into it here. So, how
Yeah.
long have you been a member of Elevate for? I know you've been here for quite a while now.
Yeah, it's going on a year. I think I joined in August of last year. I think was the exact date. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was the end of the last summer for sure.
Okay. Cool, dude. Cool, dude. And what kind of like prompted you to join, I guess? I mean, we'll kind of dive into your story a little bit beforehand, but kind of what
Yeah,
was kind of a turning point that made you join?
that's a great question. So I followed Matt and a couple of other people online just because of the fitness community and just kind of getting suggested through Twitter, actually, X now. And at that time, I was just kind of shooting Matt DMs from time to time, wondering, should I be taking this creatine or, how much protein should I be getting? Just kind of the easy kind of surface level stuff. And he had mentioned that he had this group called Elevate and he thought I'd be a good fit. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know. And we'll see. And, months went by and I kept, I think it was just kind of that one thing again, asking about a supplement. And he said, hey, man, like, again, I think you'd be a great fit for this spot. I'll throw a discount at you. Just come on in and see if you like it, that type of deal. And so I jumped in. And from there, yeah, I just I jumped in head first for a minute, a handful of months and really hit it hard. And then, yeah, I kind of found that you guys are a great community. So it was easy to stick around.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you talk about reaching out to Matt with some fitness questions, just basic ones like what kind of creatine should I be taking, protein powder, all this stuff, protein intake. How did
Yep.
you come across, Matt's account, and what kind of prompted you to kind of get deeper into your fitness journey?
I don't know how it started in terms of like how I found it. I know I found all of you guys right around the same period of time because I was having foot issues and I still do. And I've been working on my feet and you're obviously, exactly that whole world. So I was following Barefoot Will. And I think that's how I ended up getting suggested for you. And then I started following you. And then at some point, I think, started following Matt kind of all in that same probably month or so. And again, just saw, the guy's jacked, man. What do you want? Like, I'm looking at his pictures and I'm like, okay, well, this guy's got it figured out, clearly doesn't own any shirts. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, I found a good person who actually answers, which was cool, is that he was a human on the other end of it. He wasn't too busy to answer your questions and was always willing to lend a hand. You know what I mean? It never made me feel like a douchebag for reaching out. So I think just really early on, I figured out that you guys were very genuine and that it wasn't like a holier than thou type of thing. So it was easy decision at that point to join Elevate once Matt, convinced me, I guess, on the second time.
Absolutely, man. And were you kind of skeptical of the community at first? Like you said, there's an authenticity factor that we try to bring to everything. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you've noticed that obviously after being in the community for months on end. Having
Yeah.
someone like Matt show his authenticity to you, were you still skeptical of joining the community, or did you kind of have just a gut feeling knowing that it was the right decision, it was going to be a great fit?
No, I was skeptical at first because I'm not an overly religious person. I'm not as dedicated as you guys are. There's a few guys in this group, like Caleb and a couple other guys that clearly have like years of kind of learning and really making it a part of their life. So it's very overwhelming at first because I didn't know my ass from my elbow when it came to the Bible or anything like that. So it was it was a little overwhelming in that regard. But I did lean into some of the group stuff. You got the financial calls, you got the nutrition calls, you've got just overall, the God is working call, which is kind of the open forum thing that I love. So it was easy to kind of lean into some different places. On the surface, you guys are all really great dudes and really genuine guys, and never made me feel like I was stupid or like my questions were dumb or any of that kind of stuff, and just kind of welcomed me, even though I wasn't quite as like, quote, like hardcore as some of the other guys. So it was very easy to stick around in the group just because I didn't feel like I was out of place, even though I wasn't quite as well schooled as everyone else.
That's powerful, dude. That's powerful. It means a ton to be able to see the authenticity shown through because,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know what it's like too. When I joined the community, I was skeptical at first. I was like, I don't know what these guys are going to think about me. I'm kind of
Right.
worried about even asking a simple question or just, like you say, the basic question where you think you might get ignored or think you're stupid for it. But it's just the authenticity brought was so powerful. And I relate to that heavily.
Yeah.
Obviously, you came in with a lot more members than I did. So it's even a little more feel like a weight on your chest when you kind of come in. But I mean, I'm sure when you
Yeah.
got in and kind of settled, you felt like a weight was just lifted. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was, those first couple of conversations, talking to Matt the first time with that first Zoom meeting, I knew right away that I'd like Matt right away. I'm like, okay, well, at bare minimum, this dude's cool. I can follow him. And then slowly but surely just kind of met with the rest of you guys. I got to talk to Peyton right away. I talked to, you and a couple other cats, and it was, it was pretty easy straight away. Spoke to Jake right away too. And it was cool to just kind of connect right away with. It's an odd situation because you meet these people online, so it's like you really never know what you're getting yourself into. It's not like we're friends, like, and then you were like, hey, come over to this group, they're great. Like, I didn't have anybody to vouch for this, so it was cool kind of, again, digging in and just getting really authentic, like truthful and honest conversations with guys you've never met before. It's like group therapy almost. It's a really cool vibe for sure.
That's awesome, dude. I love to hear that. Which kind of leads me to my next question because, coming into a community like this, there's so many channels, so many value points that you can lean into. What aspects of the community have helped you grow the most since you've joined?
Oh, geez, that's a kind of a loaded question because there's so much value. There's different avenues. So there's a different coach or a different person maintaining different spaces. So you've got, Money Mitch doing the financial stuff. You did a thing with Vinny last night where he's talking about investments. You're obviously very close to me, so it's easy for us to connect, even physically, even go out to the breakfast or whatever. That's great. You've got like the nutrition calls and all that. Like, so there's a lot of different avenues where you can find value. And for me, it's just been kind of being able to jump into each one and connect with all of you guys and pick what I liked from each thing and kind of apply that stuff to my life. So it's just a nice buffet of, people. It's not all like we're all the same guy, we're all a bunch of robots and this is how we think. It's very much kind of a cornucopia of ideas and people and that type of thing. So I guess that's what I would say anyway.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that answered your question.
That's really awesome to hear.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I mean, I love that there's more than just one avenue of what aspect has helped you grow. I love asking this question to guys on these interviews because it's something that truly just shows the amount of value that we bring. It's not just like a come in, there's one channel, this is all you get. There's a couple of calls each week. We have so much value to provide. And to be able to see how it's not just a one size fits all. I mean, a guy could come in needing fitness help and that's what they're there for. A guy could come in needing more help on their faith journey. And I know for you, like we've connected over breakfast, over me traveling down south to Minneapolis many times, and kind of the halfway point is you're right there. So we've connected. I mean, just so many different avenues and relationships being built has really helped. It's helped me understand the value more than anything because I joined when this was like just almost like a group chat in Discord. Essentially, we had a lot of channels and then we expanded it into so much more. So to be able to see you have so many different avenues of value, I love that. And you say it's a buffet of people. That actually cracks me up. I love your humor, by the way. If you guys haven't connected with Justin, and you want a good laugh, this guy has got all the humor in the world, man. I always smile and laugh when I'm around this guy. So a buffet of people is what I love to hear.
It's true. Like,
Absolutely,
you've got somebody from every walk of life. You got, some of the older cats, like, Billy and some of those people that are like even beyond me, which I'm actually kind of one of the older people, which is weird. Being that I'm 37, it's not like I'm old, but most of you cats are kind of in your early to mid 20s, and it's refreshing. It kind of gives you a little bounce too. So for the older guys out there, if you're watching this and you're thinking this is just a bunch of punk ass kids, it is. but they're all very mature and have a lot to offer in terms of, suggestions, life advice, religious advice, whatever it is, nutrition. It's been cool. It's kind of given me a different avenue of people to kind of have on the side. I've got this group of people, and then I got like my main friends, my family. Kind of got a nice little spread. So it's good to have for sure.
That's awesome, dude. That's so awesome. So kind of talking more within the community, we talk about having a buffet of people, so many different avenues that we can go, and so much things. Like every day there's a different call. It seems like a group call,
Yeah.
like it's always just on the schedule. Have an opportunity to join and grow and connect. What's your favorite channel in the community that you've experienced so far?
Oh, geez. Again, that's kind of it. It depends. Some days it's a great chat. Some days it's a little quieter. Like the guys aren't talking quite as much. It just depends. For me, it's the God is working call. I think that's a really cool kind of open forum where we all just kind of talk. I think that's fun. I wish Matt would do that a little bit more. Maybe once every couple of weeks or something like that, where it's just kind of more of an open forum, because then it's not so pointed. Like the Bible calls, it depends on the day, right? Who's leading the Bible study? You tend to get different groups of people, which is really cool because you get a different vibe and you can kind of feel out which Bible study is better for you. If Wednesday's more your vibe, or if Saturday morning's more your vibe and you want to study with Caleb and that, like you can do that. And I think that's great. But for me, again, I would say the God is working call. I think that one's cool.
Fill the people that are listening to this interview, kind of fill them in a little bit about what the God is working call is and what we do on that call. And because just to give a little context, it occurs once every Tuesday, and I just kind of want to get your take. Kind of explain to the listeners what the God is working call is.
Yeah, that one is very unique because sometimes it's very pointed, and Matt has his questions and everybody kind of sticks to those questions, and you can just be vulnerable, be open. But there are times where those ideas start to kind of go down different avenues and everybody starts talking. And before you know it, you're just having a conversation with a bunch of like-minded men. And it's not necessarily very specific. It's not like a nutrition call where we're talking about gluten today and everybody just hammers on that topic. It's much more kind of open and, just share your feelings. And I love that. But there is some structure to it. He does reel you back and throw some questions out there again, just to kind of keep the conversation moving. And I feel like that one is much more comfortable and much more relaxed because it's not so, this is what we're talking about. We've got this professional or this guy that kind of handles this topic talking the whole time. And then you kind of jump in. It's more or less just kind of like, let's talk, guys. Let's just see where this goes. And I think that's much more organic. And you tend to get much more genuine answers out of people when it's not so specific,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It sounds to me like the openness and vulnerability is what you search for a little bit when you come to the God is working call, and that's one of our main calls. That is, like you said, if we're doing a finance call with Mitch or a training call with Jake or a nutrition call with Nick, all that in between, it just sounds like you have a voice in there more than ever, because it's just kind of open office hours, if you will, to be able to share your feelings and get off your chest what you need and find the relatability within people. Because I know, dude, like I hear the God is working call. You're one of the first people I think of that's going to tune in because I know how much you love that call and you always just bring the heat to it and the experience, man. I mean, there, like you said, there's young guys like myself and Matt and Peyton and others in there that are just diving into adult life right now, and having an advocate like you through all your life experience, which we'll get into here, is just something so great. To be able to see. So I just love what you're saying, dude. The vulnerability and openness is something I really love too.
Yeah. I love just being able to bring value. That's always been something that I've always wanted to do. It's easy to be the same as everybody else. Being unique is difficult for a lot of different things, but that's what I strive to do. I love being vulnerable with people. I love being honest with people because then it's, you're just much more of a genuine person. And I get that vibe from all you guys too. So it just, it's easy to share. It's easy to have energy when we do these things because I know that you guys are real people. We've spoke on the phone before. We've had breakfast, for crying out loud. Like, you're real people. I love that.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And so it kind of leads me to my next question that I want to talk about is talking about being real. Take us back to a time, and this is going to be a loaded question, but take us back to a time before you joined Elevate. What did your life look like? Kind of give us some context, and what kind of circle back to what led you to joining.
Yeah. So before Elevate, it was mostly, I mean, I was working at home remotely. So for somebody like me, I do struggle with that because I'm not the guy that wants to be alone all the time. I tend to flourish in groups and I like having people around me and I like that day to day kind of hustle and bustle. So it was, just boring, kind of a dark time. And we were going through some things in my family here at the house. We've been struggling here for a handful of years because we had kids like really fast. We had Maverick. In 18 months later, we had twins, and that twins was not a planned thing. Obviously, you never planned to have twins, but we weren't really planning to have another kid anyway. So it was like, here's your kid. Oh, by the way, there's two of them, and then we had to kind of pick up the pieces of what our life was at that time, and it was really difficult. There were some long nights, I will say. But during that time, I started to kind of look to self improvement and really start to lean into that stuff a lot. I started hitting the gym, started being more healthy and trying to kind of focus on that stuff. And then again, through Twitter, just kind of finding this community organically. There really wasn't any sort of like search for it. And in fact, I probably never would have joined had Matt not specifically reached out to me and said like, "Hey, I think you'd be great for this. You should join my group," and that type of thing. So once I got involved in Elevate, it was it was easy to lean into again because the energy's there. Everybody's very welcoming and wants to help you and make sure you're growing as well. So sticking with that for a while was very easy to do, and it's not something that I think a lot of people are aware of when you join like these Discord groups or you join these kind of like men's groups or whatever. That it's 99% of the time these people are choosing to be here. They're paying money to be in this group, so it's a very open conversation. Everybody here wants to be better. There's not any like douchebags in here or people that are going to come on the chats and crap on what you're saying. It's not like that. So it was easy to stick around for sure, and it was what I needed at the time. Just
I
to
love
finish
that,
that
dude.
thought, yeah.
Hmm. So you talk about, you went from, being married and you have Maverick, and then you have
Hmm.
18 months later, you have twins, and you're kind of in this buffer zone of like, what do we do? A lot of hard times coming up. Just kind of the slap in the face of life. I mean, what were kind of some of the emotions and things that you were dealing with, and how did you kind of deal with it at the time?
Oh man, it sucked. I self medicated a lot. I drank a lot. There was a time, it got to casual drinking so much over the course of the days, where you're having a handful of beers every night, knocking a few cocktails, that type of thing, and kind of and just self medicating. Really didn't have like a good way to get that stress out and to get those things out. So stupidly, started doing shit like that, and it was not something that was obviously going to help me at all. But at that time as well, kind of working on going to the gym and that type of thing. But as you as you start to work out and like actually take your fitness somewhat seriously, you start to understand like how much alcohol is holding you back. So I did slow down a ton during that time, but it was yeah, it was more or less a need for community for me as well because when you have that many kids and your life is so busy just in your little circle, it's hard to find time for your friends. That's very difficult, especially once you get to my age. Everybody's got jobs, everybody's got kids, everybody's got stuff going on. So it's not like I can just call somebody up and say, let's go golfing on Sunday. It doesn't really work like that once you get to this point. So that need for community was huge, and Elevate did definitely help, kind of fill that void for me. And it was, yeah, it was an easy decision to stick around once you kind of get your feet wet.
Hmm. That's great, dude. It sounds to me like Elevate was a kind of a catalyst to help you not go to the booze, but to rely on community more than anything.
100%.
To be able to get away from that, especially seeing how, like you say, you start taking your fitness more seriously. You realize how much alcohol is holding you back with your sleep, how you feel, how you're showing up for your wife and kids and your job.
Yep.
It's so cool to be able to see that this community was something that really changed that for you because a lot of people that maybe look at it from the outside would never think that just connecting with like-minded dudes, especially younger than you, would be the catalyst to help you start overcoming alcohol and what it's done for you in your life.
Yep.
But was there a changing moment before even you met Matt that made you you talk a lot about the gym. I know when we first connected, you were saying like you kind of had some foot problems, you were wanting to get in better shape. Was there a changing moment that made you kind of start going to the gym? Was it like a conversation you had with somebody, or just like a kind of an internal feeling that you had to go, or was Matt kind of the big catalyst to that?
I'm big into self development, and when you read these books and you watch the podcasts and you're involved with anything, Instagram or whatever, and you start to get into these reels and the algorithm gets a hold of you, it's just going to start beating you to death with fitness videos and this and that. So over time, you just start to understand that the one kind of constant throughout everything is you have to take care of your like physical health before your brain is going to be worth a damn. You're never going to be right up here if you're not right in here. So over time, just kind of slowly but surely immersing myself in that community, that is how I organically kind of fell into it, more or less. It started as like just hammer some blocks and do some sit-ups and stuff at the gym and just kind of get out of the house, because again, I was working remotely. So going to the gym was kind of a nice way to start to kind of feel that community a little bit and be able to just get out of the house. So when you start to follow people like you and Matt and so forth online, it was easy to listen to you guys because clearly you're in shape, clearly you know what you're talking about, and then to be able to be invited in to Elevate and then be able to hear some of the stuff that you guys are talking about in like the nutrition call or the training call or whatever, it was easy to kind of stay in that and to keep going with that journey.
Hmm.
But
That's
it wasn't
good.
really.
That's good, man.
Sorry,
I
I didn't
love
really
everything
answer your
you're
question.
saying.
It wasn't really one thing. There was never like a come to Jesus moment, if you will, or like a full breakdown or anything like that. It was more or less me trying to hit the brake, yeah, on the spiral that was happening at that time. It was just trying to kind of infuse some positivity into my life, is more or less what it was. So not one giant like fall to my knees moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can relate to that too. It's kind of just a little bit. You kind of just digest a little bit of it, like you said, on social media, and kind of plants the seed a little bit, and then it just keeps on getting watered into more of you taking action within it. So I relate to that heavily with my fitness journey. It's something great that I can relate to there.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about too is kind of your walk of faith mixed in with this one question here that I want to bring up. I know you've been growing in your faith more and more. You've been on your faith journey here for a little bit. We've had a lot of conversations about it. I want to talk kind of to the viewers about, you had something happen this recently on Christmas, around Christmas time. That was kind of a tough spot for you that I know we really connected with, and I felt that deepened our relationship to be able to connect on. Talk to the viewers kind of about what happened around Christmas time and kind of how your faith grew through that time.
Yeah. So it was a tough year. We had a lot of kind of personal problems here in my family, and things got really really hard for a while. My wife and me had a lot of growing to do, and it was just kind of coming to a head. I had one of the worst years of my life last year, and during that time, yeah, at the very very end, the week of Christmas, my job of a couple of years of which I had worked for previously and built up to this thing. I mean, my they let me go. Excuse me. They handed me a severance check and said, "Hey, man, nothing personal. You just happen to be the lower guy on the sales floor, and it just was what it was. Here you go." And yeah, that was kind of the beginning of the end for me. I spiraled really hard after that. I really really struggled. I did come to a few of the Bible studies and stuff, but I started to distance myself from Elevate and everybody, not just Elevate, but like really kind of started to shut down a lot. I felt anger and resentment and all these other things, and started to feel a little bit like Job. So I joined a Bible study on one of those random Wednesdays, and that was the book that we were reading through at the time. And I loved that. I connected with Job so much, where I was like, dude, that's how I feel right now. Like, why am I getting shit on? Like, why is everything getting taken from me? Like I've had one of the worst years of my life, and this is how you repay me. The week of Christmas, like it was brutal. So I was angry for a few months. It took a while before I like started to kind of let that healing begin. And leaning into faith is tricky, because it's you either got to be all in or you got to not be all in, is what I thought, right? Like either you're gung ho or you're not. Like that's how I always saw it. And I didn't know that there's a happy little medium in there, and that you guys are always very understanding of that. That I'm not quite as hardcore as some of the guys in here, but I'm not like completely worthless in terms of faith and that type of thing. And I can just kind of hover in this middle and pick apart things that I like and grab things that I like. So stories like Job, for instance, really resonated with me. And then from there, just kind of just building it and working on myself. It just took more time, just kind of, sobering up again after that and trying to just kind of clean up my life and start to get my confidence back. That those Bible studies and a few of those other things, just kind of help with that, because there's always a good lesson in everything.
That's awesome, man. I love that. How you compared Job to kind of your situation. I know you kind of picked apart a lot there, which I'll kind of get into here, but I'm curious. So you talk about feeling in the situation with Job. How did this involve with your relationship with God? You see this relatability with a character in the Bible. Did this improve your relationship with God, or was it still kind of a work in progress? Was there any big moments that you've had there? Because I know, like you said, you're kind of a little bit new to your faith journey, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And, you relate to Job heavily. How did your relationship with God grow through that?
I was pissed, man. I didn't want anything to do with it at that point. You know what I mean? It was like, well, how could you? Like, of all the times that I needed some relief, I needed something else than this. Like, I didn't need the absolute rock bottom, and just kind of working through that in my own head of what bottom is to me and what bottom is to him is probably a very different thing. And just trying to understand that the universe works in a very weird way. God works in a very weird way, and how everyday life can be one thing or it can be the other. It could be divine intervention or it could be happenstance, and just trying to find some appreciation for being given this road and having those things taken for me to give me perspective. It was easier after hearing the story again of Job and so forth. It was easier for me to commiserate with that and then see the advancement, see the story move forward, and see how his faith still kind of ended up being okay. You know what I mean? In the end, as far as I know, because I did miss a couple of Bible studies in there. So, but it just is what it is. Sometimes you just got to put it in somebody else's hands and just trusting him to do it is fine. That's good enough for me now. But like I said, at the time, no, extremely angry. Yeah.
I appreciate your vulnerability in saying that, dude. And that's why I'm glad you brought it kind of full circle there. Cause I was going to ask you kind of, the revelation you had through it. And I know we've talked about this, and to the viewers out there, I mean, like Justin said, he was just in such a tough spot, didn't know where to go, but now seeing his gratitude for these growing pains in this road that he's down. I've seen this guy grow so much. Like he's searching for so much peace. He's searching for, just the clarity in his marriage and being a father. I talked to this guy, he's out putting the phone down in the morning. He's going for walks at 5:30 in the sunrise, thanking God for another day. He's joining the God is Working call, getting vulnerable, knowing that God's in there and working through him. He's joining Bible studies that he's really just giving great perspectives on, and just seeing his growth through this tough time, bringing up kind of a vulnerable spot. I mean, I know there's probably a father out there that might listen to this that can relate to the same thing, going through a tough spot where they lose their job at probably the most inconvenient time, wondering why me, and kind of the victimhood might take over. So I know there's some relatability out there for a father that could connect to this. So just
Definitely.
know that Justin's story really inspires me, and I'm not even in that spot. I can't imagine how it's going to inspire a father or a couple that maybe get down into a deep hole like that's climbing out and still climbing out. I know we've talked about it. It's just a daily work in progress.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I just love everything that you're kind of diving into there, man. I appreciate your vulnerability.
Yeah. Thanks, dude. Of course.
For sure. So dude, I kind of want to get to this next question here, because I'm really curious your take on this one here.
Okay.
But it says, if you could get lunch with 4 Elevate members in the community, any 4, who are they?
Jeez. Yeah. That's, I can't stand any of you guys. So no, I'm good. Actually, I don't want to do that at all. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't want this to be like a popularity contest, but for me, some of the most like interesting people and the people I like listening to, I'd say Andrew. He's cool. Andrew Walker. He seems like a great dude. Obviously, I've already gotten food with you, so I don't have to say you. Matt, for sure. I would love to sit down with Matt at some point. I think that he's got a cool vibe about him. That's great. But some of the other people I've already met, like Matt Erickson, I've met Isaac and some of those guys, so I kind of know their vibe. So I guess at this point for me, it would be people I don't know necessarily, and I just want to like pick the brains of some of the dudes. Bronny for sure. Alex seems like a really cool dude. I haven't had a chance to connect with him yet. I think he'd be a good lunch for sure. And gosh, I don't know. Maybe Jeremy. He seems like a cool dude, you know, the Australian vibe and kind of a different part of the world. So if I could like fly to Australia and have lunch with him, that'd be dope. Like I'm all about that. So that would be my four probably.
Love it, love it. I've had the chance to connect with all those guys in person, and they're amazing dudes. You pick great options. Like I said, no offense to me because we've already connected with lunch and breakfast. We can do it any day of the week if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But I just love it, man. That's so good. Yeah, I just got to wrap it up with this one last question here that we'll dive into. If someone is listening to this interview and they're considering joining Elevate, what's your advice to them? Because you've dove into kind of your experience being in a tough spot and wanting more community, leveling up your fitness journey, just so many different avenues that you've had growth in. If someone's listening to this, what are you going to tell them?
I would say if you have a need for community, whatever that is, it doesn't even matter what it is. If you're a dude out there who just wants some guys to talk to, I would say 100% this is a great group to be a part of, because it doesn't need to be nutrition. It doesn't need to be religion. It doesn't need to be, or I will say faith. I don't like the word religion necessarily, but faith. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be working out all the time or any of those types of things. You can just connect with these guys on a very kind of surface level. And if you feel like being vulnerable or getting into the deeper parts of hanging out with people or having interviews with people, everybody's always so open to that. And it's just great. If you want to dabble into, you know, learning more about your faith or getting more into the nutrition stuff, it's so easy to do. All you have to do is ask, and you can learn anything you want. So it's not just about, you know, this, that, or whatever. It's about community. That's to me, it's the most important thing, is that everybody's here for one another, whether you're a believer, whether you're not a believer, whether you're here for fitness, whether you're here just to talk to people. This is a good group for you. You know, it's there's a lot of different walks of life, a lot of different ages, a lot of different kind of cultures of people that are involved. So it's not this sterile, you know, we're all thinking the same thing, we're all going the same direction, you know. So it's cool. It's a really good vibe, and it's something that I'll continue to pay for sure, because I see so much value in the money that I'm putting into it. I see value, even though I haven't gone on any of the trips, or, you know, I didn't buy any of the merch yet, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm still seeing where my money's going, and it's to bettering other people. And that to me is enough. That's my, you know, my tithe, if you will, to the group is my membership every month is contributing to the growth of young men or any men for that matter. And that's enough for me.
I love that, dude. I love that. And one thing I want to kind of shout out to the viewers here. You know, you talked about how everybody is so open-minded. There's no just like one avenue. If you're not this, you're not a good fit. We're willing to take anybody. You know, right. Obviously, if you're not a believer, you're not into fitness and eating steak and walking barefoot and trying to grow closer with other like-minded dudes, probably not the group for you. I mean, that's just the straight honest truth. But I mean, if any of these things do interest you, though, you know, there is no judgment here. We love to say, come as you are. Right. We are not going to sit here and try and change you. We are just going to sit here and just be dudes, just be like-minded and just plant seeds for each other and give perspectives and just grow relationships and deepen relationships. And I know Justin has seen that a ton in here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because obviously everybody's on a different walk of life. And I know if we all had just a one avenue thing where if you didn't meet all the criteria, obviously that'd be like religion, which that we're about relationship, not religion over here.
Right.
So, I mean, if that was the case, we wouldn't have this community. It wouldn't be flourishing like it is. So
exactly.
I just love everything you're saying, dude, and just being able to come as you are. So yeah, just to kind of in closing, man, do you got any other perspectives, any comments, anything else, man?
No, this is great. You know, it's for me, just in closing, I would say to, you know, anybody watching, you know, what I'm experiencing Elevate right now versus what I was experiencing a year ago are very different things. The strides that I've seen you guys make in your business and how you're organizing things, who's in charge of things. You've got different guys kind of running different portions. It's much more organized, even just in this last year. And I kind of see the direction. If you're thinking about getting on with Elevate, I think now would be a great time, because now it's really starting to hit its stride. We're getting some good members and people that are really, contributing to the community. It's not like the same 6 guys anymore like it was a year ago, where it was like every morning is kind of the same group of guys kind of posting and that type of thing. And I'm seeing its growth. And I think that it's as good a time as any to kind of jump in and see where it takes you. You know, if it's faith, if it's fitness, if it's anything, you know, if you're curious about any of that stuff, or like I said, just need somebody to talk to, I see so much value in it, and I would encourage you to try for sure.
I love that. I love everything you're saying, man. I couldn't agree more. Just all I got to say is amen to that. So if anybody wants to connect with you, man, that is maybe on the fence about joining, maybe wants to connect with you one-on-one, having some relatability to what you're saying, where can they find you at?
So I don't really have much for social media. I'm really not that guy. On Elevate, obviously, I'm part of like the Connect tab, so you can always schedule something with me there through Calendly. Otherwise, yeah, I'm kind of a hermit. I don't really have a place. You can reach out to me on Twitter if you want. I'm at Feezy Cheese, I believe is what it is. So it's a weird thing. I don't use Twitter a lot, and you guys kind of busted me last night actually, listening to your conversation. So I would say if you want to talk to me, especially reach out to Matt. You know, reach out to you, reach out to Peyton, or anybody online, or anybody through Twitter or whatever. Ask them for my information or my Calendly link, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody. I'm an open book, so more than happy to be kind of there for that reference for sure.
I love that, dude. I love that. So basically, in a gist, just join Elevate so they can connect with you, man. Get the full version of everything.
Yeah, let's just get everybody in. I'm trying to bring a couple hundred people in here so I can start getting more discounts. You know, I'm trying to get a free hoodie or something out of Matt, because I've been asking him for like a year and he still hasn't given me a free hoodie. So that's what we're working on right now.
We're just gonna have to promote this video and get more people in under your name, man. We'll
let's get it go viral here. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get some clicks. Like,
oh man, I love it, dude. But this has been great, man. I love this, your conversation, everything you had to say, your vulnerability, and just appreciate your time going out there. And
of course,
just everybody who tuned in, I just appreciate everybody here. And if you guys know where to find us in Elevate, Twitter, Instagram, we got all the plugs there. But yeah, till next time, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Much love.